Father Adam for our next Saint of the Week. And this week I have the privilege of speaking about Saint Josephine Bakhita. Saint Josephine Bakhita is originally from Sudan, and she was canonized in the year 2000 when John Paul II canonized the first saints of the third millennium. And so she's one of the great saints that we have somewhat in our modern roster of canonized saints. So she was born in Sudan and grew up in what seemed to be a pretty good family. Grew up very happy childhood. She would recount that she grew up the first 8 or so years of her life in a very happy, well-to-do family in Sudan until she was eventually captured by Arab slave traders. And so she went into basically what we know as human trafficking of some sorts, into a variety of different owners and masters, and some not so cruel, others very, very cruel. She suffered a lot of scourgings, abuse, lots of physical cuttings. People, some of her masters and families that she was enslaved to would cut her. And the story is that she would rub these wounds with salt in order that the wounds would stay more permanent. So somehow we have the count of all the scrapes and wounds on her body, which is something like 144 different scratches all over her body. Well, so she went through a lot of this very traumatizing, what would eventually be quite traumatic memories of her down the road as she remembered these very cruel masters in whom she was subjugated under, until eventually she was given to an Italian patron who took her back to Italy, and where she was treated with much more compassion, much more brought into the family, and where she really learned about the faith. Now, the amazing thing about St. Josephine Bakhita is that she, in learning about Christ, as she now moved to this new owner in Italy and was more incorporated into their family, much more loved with her new family, she learned that God too was a master, was the ruler of all things, but a very compassionate master, as opposed to her very cruel masters who treated her so severely in her times of slavery. And this really resonated with her. Pope Benedict wrote a good link about St. Josephine Bakhita in his encyclical Spe Salvi, which is a writing that he composed on the virtue of hope. And he saw within St. Josephine as a character of great hope. And one of the things he talked about is that for her, as she now learned about God, learned about Jesus, that it wasn't just simply that God was less cruel of a master than her most cruel masters, but he was actually very loving and wanted her and adored her, and that she was loved by her master, or rather by her heavenly Father, by her friend. And so she really, really embraced the faith. She received her sacraments, baptism, then she received First Communion and confirmation by who would be the future Pope Pius X, Saint Pius X, rather. And she joined a convent and became very, very active in that, and was very loved by the people. And everybody would just know that she had a smile on her face, very gentle, even with the dark demons that she suffered with through those many years of subjugation, of torture, of abuse. But she grew in great love for the faith, great love of Jesus Christ, and a great model of somebody with a very loaded background, a lot of baggage, a lot of sorrow, a lot of hurt in her memories, and it would still trouble her toward the end of her life. But she always, as everybody would account, she always had a smile on her face, and she just said, whenever people would ask her what she's thinking about, she'd always, I'm just thinking about Our Lady, thinking about Jesus, thinking about that. So it's just very simple, very wonderful, very, very warm. And so as Pope Benedict emphasized, she is a model of great hope. She had hope that her life wasn't just simply what it was here in this, whether just subjugated to torture, but she had something to look forward to, namely heaven and eternal friendship with God. So hopefully this is just a brief little introduction to the life of this great saint, Saint Josephine Bakhita, whose feast day is February 8th. shared with Saint Joseph Emiliani, another saint, and hopefully we can foster greater devotion to her as a model of great hope. This could be you, and let Saint Josephine Bakhita be a great model of who you could be as well.